Heard on Thursdays, the iconic radio talk show that made Philippine FM radio talk. Winner of multiple KBP Golden Dove Awards. Your host, JC Tevez.
Hey, what's going on, monsters? Good evening. JC Tevez here with you for more hot conversations on Heard on Thursdays. What's going on? The show that made Philippine FM radio talk, only on Manila's hottest monster, RX 93.1. Now, everybody knows, the whole world knows actually, that Filipinos love to sing, right? You see them in every singing contest, everywhere. Videoke, karaoke, and busking in the streets around the world. And we do it during good times, difficult times, in triumph and heartbreak, through salad days and hungry years. We just love to sing it out and always from the heart. I think we'd all agree. But it's no secret that some of us don't sound as good as the others. I am living proof of that. Some are simply more gifted, like our three guests joining us tonight. On their own, they can light up the stage, soothe our ears, and warm our hearts with their brilliant voices and exceptional singing abilities. But they seem to have made it their mission to make others sound better. Yes, whether by singing behind them, literally, or teaching new students how to sing. They are members of the acclaimed pop vocal group, The Opera, and they are also the most seasoned, most versatile, most virtuoso, and most in-demand backup vocalists in the music industry. They have sung backup for the biggest and brightest stars, from Gary V to Sarah G, Bamboo to Regine, Kyla and Morissette, Kevin Latau and Claire Marlo, to name just a small portion of the acts. Recently, Zeb and Sushi have also branched out to teaching, offering online and singing lessons in the time of the pandemic. Heard on Thursdays, we have joining us tonight, backup vocalist to the stars, Zeb, Zuniga, Sushi, Reyes, and Manolo Tanquilut of The Opera, joining us here tonight on HOT. Good evening, everyone. How are you?
Hi,
Good evening.
JC.
Good evening. Hi,
Hi,
JC.
Hello.
JC.
Hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. And to all our listeners, if you're watching on Facebook, you're already here. But if you're listening on air, feel free to join us on our lives on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch at RX931. So first things first, let's get to know our guest tonight. Although I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with them. Maybe you follow them or you follow their work. For our listeners who might not be familiar with who you are, let's do a little bit of a short introduction. So Zeb, since you're in the top right of the screen here on the live, let's start with you. Let's talk about your background in music and of course in singing.
Well, I come from a musical family, so been singing since childhood, pero walang bayad. So I started singing professionally at the age of 16. So
16.
it's been quite some time. I'm just 26. Joke lang. So, yeah, and actually, it's where we all met, the UP Concert Chorus, kaming tatlo, where we became backup singers separately.
Hmm.
So that kind of started it. But we also joined the band, joined bands, and became a band.
Nice.
So
Awesome.
that's it. But separately, we do our gigs, and separately and together, we do weddings and other whatever functions. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. Nice to meet you, Seb. And Sushi, let's go with the Sushi. First of all, Sushi, I love your name. Is that your
Thank
real
you.
name? What is that your stage name? Tell
My
us
real
about the name.
name is Sheila. Sheila.
Oh, Sheila.
It's an Indian name, so they call
Indian
me
name.
Sweet.
And Zeb mentioned that you actually are you all met in the chorus or the chorale, correct? So that we already know where you began, but Zeb also mentioned that you kind of branched out after that. So let's talk about your post college singing career. Where, how did you get to where you are now?
um, Manolo would know about that because he's actually, I was just invited into the group, no? Manolo was the core, and Manolo and Seb, I think. Kayo yung unang nag-umpisa ng grupo. And they actually first had someone to do the alto. And then, but when she couldn't make it, they got me instead. So, well, it all started because Classified Entertainment at that time was the managing group of artists like
Jaja.
Gary, Jaja, Tune Desma, Music and Magic. band at that time. So they wanted the band who would go to Singapore or Asian countries perform. So they put a band together and the audition, no? And so they formed the band and yun na yung naging history. But we never really became a band that was doing gigs outside the country. We did more band gigs here in the lounges at the time, no? And eventually we started backing up for their own artists that they were managing. So that's how it started. We were semi as a band and as backup. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And Manolo, I mean, Sushi's already kind of delved into a lot of, well, it seems like everyone here's career. But do you have anything to add about the progression of your career so far?
Well, right after we were formed, we were performing in Tavern on the Square as opera, as as a show band. That's the main reason that we were formed. We were formed to be a show band. And then later on, when we changed management after 2 years back, and we also changed members, we we kind of morphed into a vocal jazz group because I think medyo nauso siya with the
Okay.
advent of a certain jazz station back then. I wouldn't mention it anymore. Uh, and parang nauso siya eh. So, and we, back in college, back during the chorus days, we were kind of gravitating towards the vocal jazz genre of music. So
Mhm.
we kind of from the show band format, we became parang the Manhattan Transfer cover band of
Nice.
the country.
I
And
see.
tapos noon, yun na nga, we started doing hindi pa backup talaga eh. Parang we were part of a production number, but we were actually doing the backup parts.
Hmm.
And then at some point in time, we decided to do backup professionally na. Para kasing mas
Nice.
masaya eh.
Yeah, actually, I have a lot of questions. Before we delve into the life of, well, backup singing, I have to ask, when it comes to your singing abilities, is it just a natural gift? Did you have to hone it through lessons or through teachers, or were you just all three of you born like that, born with talent? Because not everyone can sing like you guys. Zeb, you mentioned you started singing at a young age. So did you have to do any sort of courses or anything?
Yes, I actually did. Well, it's because in the UP Concert Chorus, to join the world tour, you have to be able to audition to join. So, to read notes and everything. So, I needed also to sing kind of classical. So, I took
Wow.
voice lessons. But in total, I had like five voice teachers. There you go.
And actually, that's a perfect. I mean, that's another topic that we're going to be discussing tonight. Because you and Sushi have been giving vocal lessons, correct, during the pandemic. And I guess I can ask you, Sushi, is singing something that everyone can learn? Because everyone knows the term sintonado or tone deaf. Are there people really that cannot sing, or is it correct? Can you correct this ever?
There really are people who cannot. Uh,
Really?
yes, really, because um, it's also part of the anatomy. You have to have ear. Some people really can't hear tones. Some people really can't hear their own voice when they're singing. So it's a strange phenomenon. But when they're singing, they don't really hear themselves. So that can happen. And it takes a lot of ear training to be a good singer. So some people are just not into that, and some people really don't have voice quality for it because, well, we are all individually born with different vocal structures. Again, it's an anatomy. So
Hmm.
some are uh, sound better, and some have better voice quality because they are built that way. Yeah.
I see.
So that's to begin with. But then over time, you can hone it. You can learn. You can acquire the skills to a certain extent. Um, you know, but it's not for everyone,
I
unfortunately.
see. So I can blame anatomy for my lack of singing talent, which is it's good to say. Yeah, I'm not a good. It's because of my anatomy. It's not my fault. Uh, but actually, I wanna jump off of the point, Manolo, that you made earlier. That you said you said you wanted to do the parang mas masaya sa pag backup singing. I want to talk about that backup singing as a profession because I hope it's not insensitive to say, but a lot of people when they look at the stars, the divas, the Beyoncés of the world, for example, you rarely notice the background singers. Of course, everyone wants their moment in the spotlight, but Nolo, you seem to revel in that kind of you seem to enjoy that aspect of it. Is there a reason why?
Yeah, I shun away from the spotlight. No, I guess it's the reason I say it's much more masaya. Maybe it's because it's easier. We only get to sing a few lines per song or for the whole show. And yet we're part of the show. And I guess there's also um, a sort of an achievement ba hindi
Fulfillment.
fulfillment, a sort of fulfillment that you're part of the whole thing.
Hmm.
Kumbaga, if the show is a success, you're part of it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. It seems like something that I would enjoy if I could sing. Oh, we seem to have lost Manolo, but he'll come back to the connection. But Sushi Zeb, since you're here and you also are, you've done this for years now. I basing off of what Manolo said, like you are kind of like the backbone of the production. In a sense, right? I think that without the backup singers, you don't get the full effect of the show. But with that being said, is there ever a time when you felt like you wanted to be in the front or you wanted to be the main component of the whole show, for example? So Zeb, I wanted to get your perspective on that. Have you ever felt like maybe I want to do my solo show and have my own backup singers?
I actually have done that before. I did the solo show, and it's a totally different animal because it's kind of scary. You're alone.
Hmm.
You're alone, and no one will tell you if you're being ugly or being good right away. So, and Sushi is witness to that. My first gig. So, um, well, we tried. I tried. It just didn't work. So we're staying put. We're doing backup vocals. We're very much happy doing it. The great thing about it is that we are together and we have fun together. We have fun
Yes.
singing similar parts,
Hmm.
and we see private stuff from the artists that no one sees. So
Yeah.
it is a privilege, actually.
Nice. Actually, it sounds like a really cool job. And also, I correct me if I'm wrong. Is it more consistent in terms of uh, work wise as a singer? Because not everyone can make it as a headliner. But if you're a backup singer, does that mean that you're consistently able to land work? What are your thoughts on that, Sushi?
Well, actually, that's the better part. No? For one thing, well, just to take off from what Nolo said, no, the pressure is tremendous on the main artist, But on backup singers, you're enjoying doing the show without that much pressure. Of course, you're focused, you're doing your job and all that, but the pressure is not on you to bring the show forward. So we can enjoy it more. But the thing is, in terms of longevity or careers, no. Well, artists have come and gone. We started backing up for artists who are being launched at that time back in the 80s. And in a few years, they're gone. But we have been here for more than 2 decades and we're still doing what we do. So that's uh, that's a plus. No, we don't have that
30 years.
that we don't have that age restriction as much.
Right.
Yeah, the pressure to sustain your career, that's not on. Oh,
That's great.
yeah,
And I
it
think
is.
I've always had this question about the voices as they age, because when you're a young singer, we've seen it with uh, singers that were became really big when they were kids. For example, Justin Bieber was a huge success when he was around 12, 13 years old. But then usually these child singers, for the most part, don't succeed once they get older. So Justin Bieber is a rare occurrence where they were able to adjust and change. I don't know how they did, but my question is, as adults, at what point does your voice continually change throughout your adulthood, or does it stop at a certain point and then you kind of maintain the same voice until later in life?
Um, should I answer that?
Anybody who if you have an opinion on it.
It changes. It also gets old with age. It's the best thing you can do is to try and maintain it as best as you can by exercising and by behaving, by not smoking, not drinking too much. All those, just be good to your body. It's basically everything ages, including the voice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
Right.
And it's a tool that, like, Sushi, you mentioned it's by taking care of it, it is basically your tool for work. It as a carpenter needs his tools, you as singers need
It's
your
our
voice.
instrument.
It's your
It's our
instrument, exactly, exactly. So actually, Manolo, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. When it comes to maintaining the instrument, we talked about vocal exercises. Sushi mentioned vocal exercises rather. Um, but an example I can come up with is Julie Andrews. She had something happen to her voice, correct? Like she had I'm not exactly sure, but there's something that affected her voice, and she wasn't able to sing for a while. So, does your instrument ever, despite taking the utmost care with it, how what happens when your instrument has a defect or has something needs to be repaired? How do you deal with that, since it is your tool and your instrument for work? Manolo, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, in the case of totally losing your voice, well, you just have to beg off from the job. I mean, that's you just have to be straightforward with it. I mean, di ba? I mean, if you cannot produce a sound, then
Mhm.
you just pass on the job to another guy.
Got it.
But yun nga, like Sushi said, you really have to take care of your voice and your body in general. You have to be
Mhm.
healthy.
Yeah. And if you weren't listening, or if you weren't seeing on our live video, Manolo actually raised his finger to indicate that they've been doing this for 3 decades already,
Decades.
through three different decades of music.
Yeah.
And Zeb,
I
when
think
it comes
more.
to more, okay. Well, the music, that's why they have genres. They call it 70s music, 80s music, 90s music. So you've been through all these swings and changes. Zeb, you even mentioned that the jazz station from way back in the day, that kind of was a huge influence in your musical career. So how, as professional backup singers, do you adjust to a totally different sound? Because music nowadays is, well, for me, not as good as music what I grew up with. But I feel like that's everyone's sentiment. Back in my day, my music was blah blah blah. But since you have to adjust, all three of you have to adjust to whatever is hot or trending in the moment. How do you do that? Because not everyone has the same style, but you seem to be able to adjust to it because of your longevity of work.
Well, through the years, we've been able to acquire skills to change our voices a bit when it's needed. Like if you need to sound young, iipitin mo ng konti, but you have to see if it's gonna work. Baka pilit eh.
Mhm.
So that's the way it is. And then when we sing together, if it works, then it's good. It's always like that. Because your regular voice might not apply to the present song that you're studying. So it really depends. But most usually we're able to adjust.
Okay. Have there been any genres that were the most difficult to adjust to? I don't know if you've ever done heavy metal or something, but is there something that was particularly difficult for, well, any of the three of you who wants to answer? Is there something that was particularly challenging when it came to adjusting to what you were used to in the past?
We did bamboo sushi, kwento mo.
Yeah. Well, actually, I know
It was
it's
fun.
part of the challenge. Because when also acquiring the skills to be able to adjust your voice to the genre. And I love singing rock and metal with, like, when I'm backing up for Arnel Pineda, for instance, or for Bamboo.
Yeah.
It's the thrill of my life.
Nice.
So much fun for me. I have that rock star thing inside me hiding, but I do love any genre.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Actually, it's harder to do well the rap
Rap.
be harder. Yeah. Because ang hirap sabayan talaga ng mga rap. I I have to hand it to
Yeah.
them. It's quite they're so
It's
talented. Totally
it's another
different.
skill.
It's a different
Completely.
yeah. Oh my God. Nadapa ako dun sa rap.
Yeah. And the thing I like about rappers in general is that not only is it a vocal ability, it's actually really a whole persona. The way that they walk on stage, the way that the way that they, it's how they kind of show their energy, despite, I mean, not just with their voice, but with everything that they do. And
Right,
since Zeb, since you mentioned earlier that you get a cool behind the scenes look at artists that other people will never see, even the audience, it's different when you are there on the stage with them. Do any of you have any cool stories? You don't have to name names, of course, if you don't want to, if you want them to remain anonymous. But are there any stories that you love to tell as like these are your go-to stories whenever you meet people for the first time and they say, "What do you do?" "Well, I'm a backup singer." "Oh, cool. What's your coolest backup singer story for an artist?" Do you have anything that comes top of mind?
well, a lot of it is similar, especially for the female artists. Um, before the curtains open, the kasi nakatalikod siya sa amin, no? So
Mm.
haharap muna siya, and then she's gonna say, "Do I look good?" And then she will smile, "Do I have lipstick on my teeth?" and stuff like that. So you're like a backup. We've learned that we are not only backup in singing, we also do backup in morale. Like
More.
sometimes they will say, yeah, sometimes they request like, "Can you sing with me in the chorus? Because I'm like shaky there, just in the chorus, sing with me there." They have requests like that, and we oblige because it's being part of the team.
Hmm. That's really cool. Sushi, anything you want to add to that?
Well, aside from doing the backup vocals in most of the shows that we do, actually I'm also vocal coaching for the main artist, like so I have that dual function sometimes. And there are since I'm the most familiar with what's going on in the show, because I have to study all their parts. I know I know the times that they need that extra assistance and all that. So there are parts that nakaabang ako, meron akong extra function na nakaabang ako, na in case they miss the note, in case they miss this, sasalo ka talaga. So you have to
Hmm.
be, meron ka ever ready skills na gano'n.
Nice.
You have to be totally focused. And it's it's really great when they're also coaching the main artist. Wow,
Hmm.
it's quite privilege, really.
Yeah. And
Yes,
actually,
more.
it's a
Yeah.
perfect jumping off point since Manolo's internet is a little bit shaky. So while we wait for him to come back, let's discuss vocal coaching that both of you have kind of forayed into Actually, well, you Sushi already said you've been doing it even before the pandemic, but now there's a whole new sect of online vocal coaching, or vocal teaching. First and foremost, how did you decide to say, or why did you decide, let's do this? I want to do this. I mean, it seems like a natural progression, but it's still work that you have to do. It's still, you still have to find clients and whatnot. But why? How has it been going so far? What is the process of signing up for your vocal mastery courses?
Actually, Zeb is more of the he teaches more online. Um, I mainly do still vocal coaching for them, or for specific shows or for specific projects.
Mm.
Uh, there have been one or two times that I had to coach solo singers at their no, for their own personal uh, project, no song, no. But mainly it's still with the network that I do the coaching for.
I see. I see.
So yeah, Zeb
Hmm.
would do the the he would have individual students actually now. I don't have time for that anymore. But yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Zeb, talk about the theory of singing because it's an instrument that you have to hone, and you who's been doing this for decades already have a good handle on, well, your own voice. But how is it different when you're teaching someone else to sing? Because not everyone has the same tone as you. Not everyone has the same, I don't know what other synonyms, like, or what other words, like in a cadence and flow and whatnot, as you. So there must be theory, musical theory, behind the teaching of singing. So what are the basics when teaching an individual who's never had voice lessons? How do you assess them first, and then what kind of steps do you take to improve their singing?
Okay. But first off, I'd like to say that it is highly recommended that if you're a female, you should have a female teacher. And if you're a male, you should have, because if you're a male teacher and then you sing in the falsetto, it's gonna sound different to the student. If the appreciation of the student sa voice is not that much, you might confuse. All right. So it's better ako. I teach. I have like an audition session. Kung nakakayanan with me singing in the male range and the female student understands, then we go. But you're saying, how do we do it? You're like a doctor. Preferably, do not change the voice in terms of um, the timbre. You'll have to be able to know na kung ano yung natural na voice niya. Because a lot of people also sing in their not natural voice. And you
Mhm.
have to point it out to them that, you're ginagaya mo si Martin Rivera, and I want to hear your true voice and stuff like that. And then you would have to encourage them. And when they make it, pag natumbok nila, and then you have to ask them, how does that feel? How does that sound? And they say, okay, does it feel weird? They say, medyo, because it's your first time to do it, but is it okay? Is it mahirap? No, it's mabuti. Sabi niya, that's your natural voice. Then we continue on until he begs it.
Wow.
Ganun.
Yeah, because when as a as someone who never trained in singing, if I were to sing, usually I would sing the songs of the music of the artist that I listen to. So finding one's natural
Mhm.
voice is actually a bigger I mean, I feel like it's more difficult than it sounds, because natural voice, it sounds normal. Oh, I know my natural voice, but if you've been emulating, well, for me it would be like the Backstreet Boys. Oh, you sound like the Backstreet Boy. Then I could totally see that. Manolo, you're back now. Our internet's a little bit shaky, but you can hear us naman. And Manolo, I wanted to get your take on natural voices, because everyone has their own natural voice. But what is there a way that I know you're not teaching online lessons, but if you were to assess someone's natural voice, how can you determine if someone has improved in their craft? Because all three of you have been doing this for years, and every time you said you're working on your instrument, you're doing something to adjust to whatever's going on. So how can in exams and tests you can see your score 100 out of 100 if you do well on the test, but sometimes when it comes to singing it's hard to assess. How do you notice improvement, or how do you know that you have improved as a singer, personally and of course for other people as well?
Oh, you're on
Yeah.
mute. There.
Uh, I am.
Oh,
There you
okay
Go
go.
na.
ahead.
Hindi naman. Yeah. Well, that's very subjective. I mean, if you notice improvement in a person, there's no way naman to keep score, di ba? So kumaga, it's a subjective thing. If you feel that the sound is better from yesterday, yun, you can tell. But yun na nga, since I am not really into teaching, paano ba to? Your question was improvement on my voice also?
Yes, yes, in your own voice, how you've been able to improve over time. Because I would venture to say that if you didn't improve every time, every single year, you wouldn't still be doing what you're doing. That's how I see it. Unless you feel like you've just stayed the same the whole way through and it's worked for you, then that's even better. That sounds like my kind of thing.
I think it's a little bit of both. Of course, you have to catch up with the trend, and you have to, you know, because in our case, since we're doing mostly covers, di ba, that's how TV shows here are, and you really have to be able to sound like the original, and that's not always bad naman eh. It's
Yeah.
it's even for me, even for solo singers, if they start out with like you emulating the Backstreet Boys, it's a good place to start, and then eventually you will have to find your own style,
Your own voice.
yeah, your own voice, kumaga. But
Yeah.
in terms of improvement, I guess well, I don't keep track,
Okay.
so well, I just keep going with the flow. I just
That's good.
I just learn and learn new songs every time. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and while you were gone during the conversation earlier, Manolo, Zeb and Sushi were talking about rap being something that was difficult to adjust to. How about your answer to that? Is there any genre that you had maybe more difficulty adjusting to compared to other genres that you were more comfortable with?
I think metallic rock. Yun. Mas masasakyan ko pa ang rap than metallic.
Metallic rap. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. The thing about singing here in the Philippines, it's something that almost everyone does, whether they can sing or not. They still love to sing at parties and everything. Would you say why do you think that is? I mean, I just wanted to get your own subjective take on why Filipinos really are known for singing, despite our world renowned talent. Is there a reason, like maybe just in society, why have you looked into this, like the a deeper meaning behind singing, like why it's so popular here, or is it just really naturally a Filipino trait? Have you noticed anything like that in your careers?
Could be an Asian thing.
Asian thing? Possible.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah, and we see it happen in all sorts of venues, like videos go viral. Do you think there's because since you're so comfortable with like you said, being more in the background of main acts, but would you say that the popularity of singing also kind of links hand in hand with wanting to become famous as well, being that viral sensation, the sales lady that's singing in the mall on the video okay machine goes viral, tas bigla naging sikat na. Is that something that maybe attributes to the popularity of singing?
Well, it's a quick platform to success, really,
Yeah.
because you've seen the overnight, sometimes overnight success, and there's so many classic rags to riches story. We all know the story with Jean. We all know the story of
Mhm.
Sarah. they're very familiar. Not like Sharon was born with a silver spoon, but you
Yeah.
knew, you knew possibility na you start, from humble beginnings, and then, through hard work, you achieve what they achieve. So they're just holding on to that possibility that it can happen.
Mhm.
So,
Nice.
that's one story. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at
Yeah,
least now for our listeners out there who are interested in singing, I think they could take solace in the fact that there are careers to be had in singing that don't necessarily involve being the headliner. And I think that's something that is really overlooked a lot of the time. Manolo, you were going to make a point.
yeah, I was going to say that we're also a celebrity oriented society. We look up to celebrities in many ways.
Mhm.
And plus yun nga, the promise of success that was brought about by reality TV, singing
Yes,
contests, mga ganun. So
contests.
Oh, we
And
love
Yeah.
singing. No, we
yes, you do.
always sing contests. There are the
yeah,
top rating shows in
we've been
network.
through so many singing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And now
What?
online, there's so much, for financial returns, like, lot of platforms already where you can sing and you can earn. Yeah, everybody
Yeah.
wants to sing, even if they not. I know of people who do not really know exactly how to sing, but they make a lot of money.
There you go.
Careful, careful, careful.
Yeah, I'm not mentioning any names, but
No names, no names. But I mean, yeah. Actually, that's a great point you made there, Zeb. Apps like live streaming apps and also
right,
social media apps like TikTok have given a whole new wave of singers a platform to showcase their talents. Actually, if I scroll through my TikTok, I see people doing singing challenges, which I think is really cool. Like anyone can
hmm
participate. Have any of you been on the TikTok trend? Have you participated? I see Manolo shaking his head. But how about you, Sushi? Zeb, have you?
me,
Zeb, I see you're
I
pointing. Okay,
struggle.
nice. How do you feel
uh,
about these kinds of quick because when it comes to social media the attention span is really it's quick swipe 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 swipe.
exactly.
Do you
So
think it's a
I
good thing or
well,
a negative thing?
for me, it's become a little better, but you have to have time. Because with YouTube before, kawawa, konti lang ang viewers, and you'll have to beg people to like and share. But
Hmm.
here, people will just scroll up, down, and, nadadaanan, so you get a lot of views. Because, yun lang, ang maganda doon. So, that's why I decided to do TikTok. But mahirap lang to be consistent with it. And
Right.
sometimes you have to succumb to the dance if you don't necessarily want to dance.
Oh, actually, that's another question I should ask. Actually, as backup singers, is there choreography involved? Because I've seen YouTube performances of artists who have their backup singers swinging their hips
Yeah.
and snapping their fingers. But have you ever had to do choreography like a full blown dance ever? Sushi, you want to answer this one?
Yes. Well, we did several shows with Desma before,
Okay.
where we were really part of the show, and we learned choreography together. Meron talaga.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, some Regine shows, I think, also. And
And Jaja also.
yeah,
That's
oh, meron.
Yeah. The Bobby Brown medley, I remember that.
It's
oh
Yeah.
hard. Alam nila that we were a show band before, and that we could sing and dance a bit, So sometimes
Yeah.
we drive challenge, and they'd make us go forward,
yeah.
upstage, and actually perform a number with them,
Wow.
upstage. Talagang feature. Sometimes we do
Nice.
an number, and
Yeah.
walang interest. No? So, yun, talagang featured ang namin. And then they're doing the stuff. So, meron ganun mga challenge. But we have
That's
to
cool.
go
So
for.
there is some physical exercise involved to being a backup singer. Something. Good to know. Good to
Oh,
know.
God.
As we come towards the close, I mean, I could ask a million questions because there's so much more to unpack about being, well, a professional singer. But I guess I just want to get some final takes from all three of you about the pandemic certainly hit the industry hard. And of course everyone is missing live gigs. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the future of live gigs. Do you think it's going to be something that will happen, you know, by next year, or what as you know, you must discuss amongst yourselves and amongst your peers, what is kind of the general consensus on performances as a whole down the line, the near or even the far future?
Well, to begin with, no, I'll start the discussion. It'll take a while, but we've been really blessed, the three of us, to keep working even during the pandemic. Um, like there have been recordings when the pandemic first hit, like on the third month of the pandemic, I got a call from Sarah G to coach for a recording for an ad agency. So ganon. Yung mga ganon, nandyan pa for ads, you can still, but the scenario is totally different. You're in the same booth, but you're like 3 meters apart. Instead of, yung ganon, physical for one thing is
Hmm.
changed, the setup. So she has a mic and I na ganon, may dual setup. And then,
Right.
so the PCR swab test, you
Yeah.
have to get more. So, ang maganda doon, sometimes they come and and they give you a swab there, or you go to a clinic, and that's all paid for by the production. So
Hmm.
that is a must of all the productions that we go to, the antigens, and that's gonna stay for like maybe for the next 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Um, yeah. So everything is a lot of the work is pre-taped, no. Kasi very limited ang walang audience no, sa
Hmm.
live performances. So everything is pre-taped. So they actually rent venues ahead of time. I'm just showing you the difference in the scenario now, no, for
Hmm.
show. They would rent the venues and then they would pre-tape the shows. So, but you're doing live singing in the venue, but walang audience. So
Yeah,
it's hard to keep the energy up when you're doing that. Kasi,
I agree.
yeah, so it's imagination na may audience ka, di ba? But, uh, but you're singing for the love of it, so that should give you enough energy. And you're
Right.
working, and the artist is there, and you're doing your job. So, yeah, you just, that's part of the very, those are
Hmm.
the big changes, really, in the
Yeah,
scenario.
great. Manolo, anything you want to add to what Sushi said?
Yeah, I guess it's gonna take mga at least a year pa, no, Sushi?
Yeah.
Uh, think it's still difficult. I mean, the last the last taping we did, it was really it was a strange setup. There were just few people, and um, we were all socially distant while recording. So it's gonna take a while before things go back to normal.
Hmm. Okay.
Hopefully
Makes,
soon.
yeah, hopefully. And Zeb, as someone who is teaching students how to sing, maybe this is something that I could ask all three of you. But let's start with you, Zeb. Uh, when it comes to people who want to become singers as a career, what is your advice for aspiring singers out there? Uh, what would you say is your advice to anyone that wants to do it to as a career?
Okay. One has to be correctly assessed. Not yung sinasabi lang ng nanay mo na magaling kang kumanta, because sometimes it's not true. So you have to have a mentor or at least a coach to listen to you, and then take it from there. The coach will be able to tell you how much longer you need to for you to improve. It's not the same for everyone. So if the student is slow, progress is slow. But on average, maraming Pilipino marunong kumanta. Okay? Marami ring Pilipino gusto kumanta pero wala sa tono. And I've had those too. So, have yourself assessed first. Kasi, yun, masasayang lang yung money mo.
Yeah, and a good place to get assessed is by you personally. So of course, let our listeners know, Zeb, where they can reach you and how they can avail of your services and your coaching.
Well, my messenger is open. Zebedee Zuniga without the Spanish N. I can receive messages kahit nasa message request. I get notifications. I
Mhm.
do reply.
Okay, great. Manolo, I know you're not doing any teaching, but do you want to shout out anything? Do you have any projects that you're working on or that you want the world to know about?
um, watch All Out Sundays and The Clash on
Yeah.
GMA. Pwede ba? Pwede ba dito? Sorry.
Pwede yan, pwede. No problem. And then, of course, Sushi, I know you also have something, a little thing that you're focusing on the side. But of course, tell us about your anything else you want to promote.
Oh, yes. We company, it's called Green Food. We produce bottled tuyo and bangus, and it's out to market. It's in your favorite SNR outlet, other outlets, and we're also online. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. Uh, yeah, you can reach out to us. Deliver also through the, of course, through the other shopping networks. We're available. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's the same same products that Regina and Augie are promoting.
Yeah.
nice. And any shout outs for the three of you? Anyone you want to say hello to? Friends, family, fans out there?
Well,
Hey, hello,
part,
monsters.
it's part of
Yes.
um, that's part of the privileges of getting good friends from the industry. Regina and Augie have become very good friends through the years. So they're now my business partner. Yun, one of the blessings of the business really is we've fostered a lot of really long lasting friendships among them.
Yeah,
So
and
shout
not to mention, yeah, and not to mention, shout out, and not to mention, si Jaya. Si Jaya is one of
Of
our
course,
closest
the
kumares.
opera is
Grabe.
the fourth member of opera is actually Kaya. So it's
uh,
he's
well, thank
always
you.
yeah. We miss
How
you,
about you,
Sushi.
Zeb? Anyone you want to say hello to, Zeb?
Well, basically that's it. People in the States, Jaya, and my brother who's in the States. I hope you get good gigs because there are loud gigs there already.
Oh,
You
eh.
know,
Soon. Sana soon here in the
right? And
Philippines.
then
We'll get
maawa
that.
na dito, no? And take it
Yes.
from there.
Yes, I agree. So, Zeb, Sushi, Manolo, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I wish we had more time,
Thank you.
but of course, you can
Thank
catch up
you.
with them wherever they are, and they will keep singing for 3 decades more, and we'll have them on the show in the future. Enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is JC Teves. Catch us again next week for more hot conversations here on Heard on Thursdays, and always keep it locked right here on The Monster. Good night, everyone.
The